Hey guys, it's Jochen aka Leyodemus, and it is my pleasure to announce a brand new mini-series right here on FMSCOUT. In these episodes, we are going to make sure that you guys have all the information you need to perfectly do your own training within Football Manager. And to kick things off, in today's video, I'm going to show you 5 of my favorite tips, and I promise you, stay until the end because the very last tip will blow your mind. Let's rock. So as I mentioned, this is actually the first episode in a series. We're going to do mentoring, individual training, team training, you name it, it will all be in there. But what I want to know from you guys is this. If there is a specific thing you want to know about anything related to training in Football Manager, leave it down in the comment section so I will read it and take it into account when creating those next videos. Also guys, if this is the kind of content you're interested in, hit that like and sub button down below, hit that little bell to be notified when a new video drops, and feel free to check out my own channel, Leyodemus on YouTube. The link is down in the description. I am currently in a quest for cheap wonderkids all around the world, so that's probably something you're interested in. And I'm also going to start a live streaming series on YouTube, London Journeyman, with a tier 10 database. So I'm guessing that's going to be a lot of fun. If you don't want to miss that, visit the channel. Let's go to our first tip. Mentoring, the thing that probably most of you guys, if you do anything of the whole training thing yourself, this is probably it. But I'm going to show you something that is often overlooked because I get it, it's a little detail, but it's super important. So you want to go to Training tab, Mentoring, that's how you get there. I didn't set anything up for now, but look, when I do this, ask assistant to assign, boom, he will just assign some mentoring groups that he thinks is best for this team or for the development of youngsters. But is that true? Let's find out. I'm not gonna deep dive into this too much because that will be a thing for next episode, but the thing I want to show you is this column right here, the social groups, because if you go to Dynamics, social groups, you will see this. Now in an ideal world, your entire squad is within the core social group, which means they're all best buddies and whatnot. Most of the time, I'm not gonna lie, that's not gonna be the case, however. So you might ask, why the hell did they put the social groups column, because you can't even remove it, why did they put the column in the mentoring tab? I'll tell you. Imagine you are a young player at a club and you have a mentor on the field, probably an older, more experienced person, someone you look up to, maybe. Well, what do you think is most beneficial? That you only see him or you only work with him on the pitch in training, or that you have that but also kind of your social life, which is kind of shared? So maybe you're gonna go and have a couple of beers with him. I don't know, I'll let your imagination go wild on that. But the thing is, of course, that is the better option because that is the way you actually get to know the player. You get to know his player traits, you get to know his mental traits, his determination. That's the whole thing what mentoring is, like being an experienced player, having a good personality, not being a douche, a good personality, and passing that on, all the good stuff, to a young player, a pupil. And that is why they have put this in here, because it is super important that all the members of a single mentoring group are in the same social group. And as you can see, my assistant manager didn't get that memo because he has just basically done random stuff. Let's just delete them immediately. So what you can do, if you want to add your own group, go here, add group. Let's say De Gea's lads, right? Because I know David De Gea is a very good mentor. Add player, please. And you're going to search for the social group column and add him. So right click, insert column, Dynamics and Happiness, social groups. And you know what? I don't really for now need the morale column, so I'm just going to remove it. And then auto size all the columns, and there you go. Let's make this a little bit bigger. So now you can even sort on social groups, so you immediately have an overview. So I see that David De Gea is in the core social group, so I know I only want to pick players from that same social group to make this at least a functional mentoring group. So next step, I'm just choosing some young players. I know this is not going to be a terrific mentoring group, but that's not the point. We'll do that in the next episode. Let's just take these guys, for example. Add players. So now you can see they're all within the same social group, which is awesome. And that is my first tip. If you are doing your own mentoring groups, for the love of God, pay attention to the social groups column. The next two tips are all about individual training. And the first one, I also know for a fact that a lot of you are not using this. If you have a player on an orange injury icon, as I like to call it, like this guy here, go to his profile, go to development, and go to training. And if you have no idea what this screen is, don't worry. I think within 2 episodes, we are going to tackle everything concerning individual training. And I can tell you already, it's going to be awesome, man, because this is something that can literally make or break a young player's career. If a player has that orange thing, you can come here to additional focus, and this is a tab that opens up only in that situation. So you won't see this for a perfectly fit player. You also won't see this for a red injured player. Only when he's orange injured, so he's kind of like coming back from an injury, this will light up. So what you can do here is get him into some rehab. Because for example, this guy, Willie Kambwala, he is in my under 18s at Man United. I think he was out for what, 6-7 months, maybe more. It is quite normal that if you encounter such an injury as a player, that your physical attributes or your physical state in general declines. Well, the whole purpose of this is to kind of minimize that decline. It is now only the start of the season, so I don't see any indications here. But for example, I know for a fact that I saw these little things, the orange or even red arrows that I see right here at Cristiano Ronaldo's profile. If you see those with that player that I just mentioned, this guy, that kind of indicates where to go in the additional focus. So if it's all pace and acceleration that's gone way down, focus on that and you might get some of those lost attribute points back before he is actually back into full fitness. How awesome is this? Tip number 3 in the video and number 2 in the individual department is this. If you have a player coming in or you already have a player in your squad with a certain player trait that you do not like, well, you can untrain that, or at least try to. Let's take our good friend Bruno Fernandes for example. He has a couple of player traits, but especially this one, argues with officials. I don't particularly want him to do that. So what you want to do then is go to development, training. Oh, what do you know? Same screen as we were in before, but now we go to the other side because right here is the discuss new trait option. If you click that, and FYI, this is also the way to do it if you want to actually train new traits to players, but we're going to do the same thing but then in reverse. Let's ask Darren Fletcher himself for some advice. I think the argues with officials trait will be in the discipline training. Let's have a look. Yep, here we go. So if you have chosen the right category, you will in fact see an option that has something to do with the actual trait we are talking about. So in this case, I would like you to start working with Bruno Fernandes to stop him arguing with the match officials. Click. Now, depending on the player attributes and the player's personality and all, you might get a negative advice. But in this case, I don't care. I want that trait gone, Darren Fletcher. So convince. I have a much greater experience of what benefits a player's game. Lie, and you should give it a go. Boom. Of course, if you've already gotten that negative advice, chances are pretty high he's gonna say, you know what, boss, we'll try it, but it's probably not gonna work. End quick chat, and now you can see argues with officials is in red and the player trait is being removed. All we have to do now is wait for the email that says we succeeded or we didn't. But now you know how to untrain player traits. And of course, for the last 2 tips in today's video, we are going straight to the team training department. You want to click on training and calendar. Again, if this is a screen you've never even been to, no worries, within a couple of episodes, we're going to do a deep dive into all of this. And after that, you will be a master in doing all of this yourself. But for today's first tip on team training, I'm going to focus on tactical familiarity. We all know it's super important. We all want to get that maxed out as soon as possible. But how can we do that, or at least partially do that, by using team training? Let me tell you, if you click on any of these cards, it will take you to that week's training schedule. Once again, we are not going to deep dive into the schedules themselves. I just want to show you this. Now, if you click on any of these cards, it has a huge amount of information, but I beg you, read it, because it's exactly saying what that particular session will do for your team training. For example, if we go to the very first one we encounter, General tab, Overall Training, right? As you can see, tactical familiarity, ding ding ding, but also a truckload of other stuff, which means that this 100% will be divided among all those things. So yes, in theory, this is a good card or a good session to use if you want to bump the tactical familiarity, but there are way better sessions than this, man. And I know the obvious choice, of course, is tactical, but let's have a look. Attacking shadow play. First of all, this takes into account your training units, being attacking, defensive, and goalkeeping. And to be brutally honest, that alone is something I do not want. If I want to focus on tactical familiarity, I want it to be for every single player 100% of that training session. So let's check out this tab right here, Match Preparation. Now let's start with the two sessions I don't use that often, being defensive shape and attacking movement. Why? Because they are exactly the same situation as the one we had before. It is divided within our units, priority is divided. Nah, I don't like it. But match tactics, for example, this is exactly what I want. Focus 100% for all players on these things right here, and you can see what it impacts, and that is mainly everything concerning tactical familiarity. Attributes, decisions, and teamwork are also impacted, as is team cohesion, which is also important, like in preseason when you have a couple of new players coming in and you want to get that cohesion and the familiarity up as soon as possible. This is one of the best sessions to choose. Now, I know we all like to play a bunch of friendlies in preseason, but for the love of humanity, also consider this session right here, Match Practice. Because as you can see, let me quickly move this one over and go back for this one to Match Tactics. It's a very light session, right? There's almost no intensity. If I switch to Match Practice, you can see that go up by quite a notch. But it's not going overboard at all, but just know that it is a more intense session than the Match Tactics session. But let's look at this session, man. First of all players 100%, boom, simple. Every box in the tactical familiarity department is ticked. Individual roles, ding dong, tip number 5 coming up. Spoiler, happiness is greatly increased, team cohesion is greatly increased, sharpness is increased, of course, because you're actually like simulating a match. Fatigue is only slightly increased, but of course, as in a normal match, your injury risk and your condition are also quite heavily impacted. And the third session that I want to show you in the match preparation department is not even available here because it's only available the day after a game. And of course, I am talking about Match Review, a session dedicated to analytically reviewing the previous match. Pretty much says it all, right? Of course, it's a really low impact or really low intensity training session. Team cohesion is increased. Awesome. And once again, it impacts all the things that have to do with tactical familiarity. So for the love of God, use this after every single game. Also, if you play friendlies in preseason. So in short, guys, if you want to boost up that tactical familiarity as soon as possible in preseason, or if you are starting a new tactic and you just started experimenting with it, use these sessions like hell in your training schedules, because I guarantee you it is by far the fastest way to get that familiarity up to a good level. And now, my friends, the money shot. Tip number 5, final tip of the video, and I told you this would blow your mind. Well, buckle up, because here we go. We are still in the team training screen, and let's just pick, for example, this week. Now, I didn't touch it. This is all done by my assistant manager. And I want you to guess how many of these sessions actually contain any form of individual training you have worked so hard for to set up. I'll give you a couple of seconds. I can already tell you it's not that many. The first one we already saw in the previous tip. Match practice actually impacts the attributes you set in that individual training for each player. Because this one right here, this is the most important thing in today's video. If you don't see this, attributes, individual roles in the card, that particular session is not impacting individual training at all. And the other session that also does that is the ball retention session, only for the goalkeepers though, so the tertiary focus, is that how you pronounce it? I have no idea. 20% for the goalkeepers alone, individual roles, attributes. That is it. So now the choice is yours, of course. If you want to spend a lot of time setting up that individual training, which I highly recommend, by the way, if you do that and you don't see this in any of these sessions, or you don't put the correct sessions in there that have this, it's basically worthless because there will be no time reserved for individual training. It is as simple as that, but it is so often overlooked that I can't stress it enough. So a couple of really decent sessions with the individual training are, for example, and these are the ones that I always use, technical, chance conversion, or chance creation. It's actually a useful session, let's be honest here. I mean, every team can probably use these two. And your defensive and your goalkeeping unit are fully focusing, albeit for 20% each, but more than nothing, right? Are all focusing on the individual training. Two other awesome sessions are in the defending tab here, ground and aerial defense. It's the same story as the previous two ones, but now your defensive unit is actually doing the training, and again, pretty useful for any team if you ask me. But your attacking and your goalkeeping unit are fully focusing on their individual training. And the last session that I do tend to put in pretty much every schedule, I'm not saying every week, but every couple of weeks, is a goalkeeping session. General tab, goalkeeping, it's pretty obvious, right? The goalkeeping unit is training their goalkeeping attributes, but everyone else, being your attacking and your defensive unit, are fully focusing, at least for those percentages, on their individual training. So guys, if there is one thing and one thing only you remember from today's video, let it be this. Without those sessions in your team training schedules, your individual training will be almost completely useless. And with that guys, our first episode in this new series is done. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if this is the kind of content you are into, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Bang on that notification button so you won't have to miss a single video that gets dropped in the future. On that, the next episode in this series will be all about mentoring. So if you have a question about that, if there is something particularly bothering you about it, let me know down in the comment section. I promise you I will read it and I will take it into account when I make that video. That being said, thanks again for watching guys. Peace out.